Perfect. I think we're ready to start. Welcome everyone. Thank you very much for joining this Alliance Manchester Business School full-time webinar. My name's Lewis Jackson. I'm one of the senior marketing and recruitment officers in the MBA team. Today I'm delighted to be joined by my colleagues Chris Healy, head of MBA marketing and recruitment, and our two assistant MBA directors, Nia Watkin-Jones and Naomi Blackwell. Before I shortly pass over to Chris, just to make some introductions, you'll notice that the audience is muted and cameras are switched off. We've purely done this to reduce background noise, but this is going to be an interactive session, so we do really encourage your questions throughout the session. And you can ask any questions that you have via the question and answer section, and please do feel free from the start to start firing questions across. So yeah, without further ado, I'm going. Oh, and also, sorry, this session is being recorded, just to let you know that as well. So without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Chris. Chris.
Thank you very much, Lewis. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone who are joining us from around the world. Quick introduction to myself. My name is Chris Healy. I head up MBA recruitment and marketing across our suite of MBA programs at Alliance Manchester Business School. So, of course, that consists of our professional MBAs, our global MBA, global executive MBA, finance accelerated MBA, and also the flagship program at Alliance Manchester Business School, which is, of course, our full-time MBA. I've been working in business education for about 15 years. And still to this day, very much and thoroughly enjoy giving advice to candidates from around the world as they embark on their MBA journeys. So I will ask Naomi and Nia to introduce themselves, and then I'll give you a bit more context then. So start with you, please, Naomi.
Sure. So hi, everyone. I'm Naomi Blackwell. I'm the Assistant Director for the Full-time MBA. In a few weeks, actually, it's my 9th anniversary at Alliance Manchester Business School. I spent most of that time in the postgraduate career service supporting MBAs with their career plans, and I've been Assistant Director for about 18 months now, which is a broader role across the programme.
Hi everyone, my name is Nia Watkin-Jones and I'm the MBA Assistant Director at the Business School. I've been at the university for over 12 years and I've worked as an MBA Assistant Director for over 3 years now. Really happy to be here today to talk to you and looking forward to chatting to you today.
Excellent, thank you very much. And to the audience, so I guess what we're trying to do today is we wanted to do something slightly different, something, I think you often hear in the business press things called like a fireside chat, if you will. And what we didn't want to do like a traditional MBA information session where you just listen to me speak for about 45 minutes, which is why I wanted to have Nia and Naomi with us today. And we all think that this session is going to give you some added value. And I believe you'll be able to take some valuable information to help you in your MBA research. So one of the best ways I think to get started is, and I'm going to go to you here, Naomi. So one of the first things candidates need to consider when they're considering an MBA is whether to undertake a full-time MBA or whether to carry on working while studying for a professional part-time MBA. Naomi, what do you think the value of a full-time MBA is in general? And you don't have to be specific to Manchester here, but just what do you think the value of the full-time MBA is?
Mm-hmm. So that's a really big question to start with, Chris. So thank you for that. There's a few things that come to mind, so I'll try and put them in a logical order. So initially, I would say with any full-time program, it is immersive and it's quite an intense learning experience, perhaps more so than a professional MBA, simply because you don't have the same distraction or commitment to work whilst you're studying. So you can take more time to explore the topics and possibly different career paths alongside your studies as well. That also means it is more hands-on. So most full-time programs have very practical experience embedded within them. It might be consultancy projects, it might be internships, both of which are incredible for your learning and really valuable for the CV as well. And that can also be a bit of a motivator, because once you have essentially given up your role to come and study full time, you are thrust into the job market. And I don't want to say the professional MBA is a little bit safer, but you have obviously still got your ongoing employment. So it is slightly different in terms of how you view your career aspirations. There's more of a leap that you take to do a full-time MBA, because it does take you away from the market, but then naturally kind of opens other avenues that maybe you wouldn't have previously considered. So some people find that as well. Sticking on the careers topic, if people are looking for geographical mobility or perhaps a sector change, a full-time MBA in a different country gives you some experience in that region, which is valuable for your CV, valuable for your networking, and similar to give you exposure to different sectors if that's of interest for you through, as I said, it might be consulting projects, it might be internships, possibly even competitions and some of those other activities that happen as well. So really you get to understand business from perhaps a different geographical perspective, international perspective, but also different sectors. And that can link up nicely with people's different career goals, whether that's immediately after studying or something longer term that they want to work towards. You know, a professional MBA, it doesn't quite have the same breadth of exposure. I guess the networking is still there and you can still use it as a pivot point if you want to, but it doesn't add quite the same practical hands-on experience to a CV as a full-time program. And then the last couple of things, I guess, are a bit more personal. One is the culture and the lifestyle that an individual might be looking to have. So with a full-time MBA, if you are international and therefore in a different country to where you've been previously, that's very exciting. People enjoy exploring the area. They enjoy exploring the UK in our situation. And that can really be something that they're looking for with their lifestyle. And then finally, just the bonding, you know, living and working and being alongside the same set of classmates for however long the program might be, is a bit different to the professional MBA. You really get to know your classmates very well. There's a real strong sense of community, and some people really value that experience.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Naomi. And I guess we'll stick on classmates there, what you ended on, because Nia, I'd like to go to you here for you to give the audience an insight into the two different profiles in terms of who you would generally see undertaking a full-time MBA compared to who you would see taking a part-time professional MBA.
Thanks, Chris. So on the full-time MBA, we tend to see candidates who are younger, I suppose. So the average age for the full-time MBA is around 29 to 30. People who are coming with around 6 to 7 years of professional experience after their degree. Obviously, we require 3 years minimum, but on average, they come with around 6 to 7 years of professional experience. We do see some people in their 30s. We do see some younger candidates. We're getting more and more applications from younger candidates, but generally, there are people around 29 to 30. We've got a very diverse class on our full-time MBA. We have around 27 nationalities, which is fantastic. And also the split of male to female are quite equal in our full-time MBA. So I think we have around 45% female, 55% male, and this is way above industry standards for full-time MBAs. So on the part-time MBA, the cohort is slightly different. So it's generally people who are a bit older. I think the average age is around 36. And obviously we have the senior executive MBA, who we have people in their late 30s, 40s, 50s on that program. The male to female ratio is slightly different on the global, the part-time MBA, but we do have quite a significant female population on our global MBA in China. I guess the key differences in terms of the profiles of students. So obviously on the full-time program, these are people who are giving up their professional careers for a period of 18 months, for example, and they're generally looking to change industry, change function, or even change country. So it's quite a big commitment, and they're coming to Manchester to take a full-time MBA program. On the global MBA, I think Naomi's touched on this slightly. It's people who are already working for their companies and perhaps are looking for acceleration. So to get into a more senior role in their company or in their industry, they tend not to want to change industry or company at that stage. And obviously for the full-time program, Naomi's touched on this as well, but coming to the UK is a big draw for people. So an opportunity to travel and to be in another country and immerse themselves in another country, that's also a big motivation for people coming onto the full-time MBA.
That's great, thanks Nia. And what Nia did there is she gave you an insight into what our full-time MBA class looks like and what our professional MBA classes look like. But I'll also add to that, because there's a lot of similarities there in terms of our classes in comparison to other UK schools, European schools. So you will tend to see similarities in terms of that average age, the average professional experience, very internationally diverse cohorts if you take an MBA in the UK or elsewhere in Europe. Nia, I think I'm going to stick with you on this, because of course you interview many of our full-time MBA applicants, you interview many of our global MBA and global executive MBA candidates. So I'm going to ask you specifically here on the full-time MBA, please. What is it that we look for in our applicants on our full-time MBA?
Thanks, Chris. So obviously, I'm sure everyone's seen the entry requirements. You know, at the basic level, we're looking for people who are coming with an undergraduate degree, a good level of English competency, and also we're asking for GMAT, GRE, or a MAT test. Work experience, obviously that's really important. So a minimum of 3 years work experience, but we are looking on average 6 to 7 perhaps, or people are coming with 6 to 7 years of professional work experience. And in this work experience, we're looking for strong, consistent career progression and achievements. Okay, so we want you to demonstrate what you have done since you have graduated. We're looking for evidence of that during the interviews. We really value international exposure. So obviously, when you come onto the MBA, you'll be in lots of group work and projects, for example, and the ability to get on with people from different nationalities and different cultures is really beneficial to come onto our MBA. We really embrace diversity on our MBA. So perhaps you've worked in another country, perhaps you've traveled to another country, or even if you've not traveled to another country, if you've lived in your own country but worked with different nationalities and cultures, that's also important too. Entrepreneurial experience, we do value people who come with that. It's not essential, but it is good that we've got some people with entrepreneurial experience in our MBA. So people who are bold, who are brave, who have taken initiative to set up their own company and given it a chance. So that's a real asset to us. In terms of the skills, so obviously ours is quite a practical MBA. So we're looking for people who are good team players, have good communication skills, the ability to get on with all different types of people from all different backgrounds. That's really important, and emotional intelligence is obviously good, very important too. You know, personally, I like people with good energy, ambitious people, and of course, people who are prepared to work hard, play hard. That's also an important trait to come onto our MBA. And one of the things that we will ask you in the interview is about your motivations, for your reasons for wanting to do an MBA. So this is really key. You know, make sure that when you're interviewed for an MBA program, that you have valid reasons for doing an MBA, because we will ask you about that. So for example, you know, are you looking to change industry, get into a certain company? Are you looking to accelerate in your career? Really have a think about your motivations for wanting to do an MBA and how it fits into your career plans.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you very much there, Nia. Naomi, you know, Nia touched on a lot of different things there in terms of what we need from our full-time MBA applicants, but I'm going to maybe hone in on one specific area that Nia touched on. And she did mention about professional experience. And from your perspective, is is professional experience key for us on the Manchester MBA due to the level of, due to the way our curriculum is structured, in the fact that we've got a variety of real life consultancy projects on our program? Do you think that's one of the reasons why professional experience is key for us?
Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of truth in that, yes. So as Nia's outlined, we do look for some level of professional experience, and the reason that's important is because we will be putting you in front of 3 different clients during the consultancy projects. So they are real clients. They could be anything from kind of an SME all the way up to a very big corporate organization, and they want value. They want to know that the MBAs who are working with them will deliver something tangible, something that they can take forward based on very robust research, data. It's not a kind of tokenistic offering the consultancy projects. So we're not looking for qualified consultants, although they're very welcome. But really, Nia was right to say it's about the skills. It's about stakeholder management, group work, emotional intelligence, project management. And if you've got some level of experience, that really gives you a much better platform to deliver for those clients that you will work with, and also on an internship as well, if that is something that you would like to do. So the MBA helps refine those kinds of skills that I've touched on. So you don't need to be an expert right now, but you do need a solid grounding in them. You need the ability to reflect and to be challenged. An MBA is a difficult program, and you bring all of your professional experience here, which will give you a lot to draw upon, and within your teams you'll have an awful lot of combined experience and knowledge, but really you will be challenged, and it's about how you bring that experience together, how you problem solve, how you face some of those demands a client might put on you to deliver something that is really valuable. So an MBA is focused on professional growth and also personal growth. So having that minimum 3 years experience, possibly a bit more, is a useful starting point. And you can then go on to hone it further, to collaborate, to share different perspectives within the class, because that is another part of your learning journey. The more experience or the more kind of expertise you've got in certain areas, the more you can contribute to your peer-to-peer learning as well, which is something that's not to be underestimated. It is really important.
Thank you, Naomi. And I've just been taking a look at some of the questions that we've received so far, and I think we've started off on the right subjects, actually, because I'm seeing a trend in some of these questions. So Naomi, I'm going to go back to you on this. What about some of the people we've got in the audience who may not be the average profile that Nia spoke about earlier, with 6-7 years of experience, and who might be about 29, 30. What about those people maybe in their mid-30s or getting towards their late 30s? How do you think they should be? What do you think their outlook should be when considering an MBA? Do you think they should be focused more on the professional MBA, or can they still bring a lot of value and gain value from a full-time MBA?
I think a large part of that comes down to what Nia mentioned about motivation. The programs are quite different in that sense. So Nia referred to the fact that on the professional MBA, a lot of those candidates are looking for acceleration within their current career path. And on the full-time MBA, often it is about some kind of career switch, whether that's industry or geographical, something of that nature. So that certainly plays a part to reflect on what it is you're looking for with your career. And for some people, that's about short-term, medium, and long-term goals. So often on the full-time MBA, for example, there's candidates who are looking for quite an immediate career switch, say from engineering into finance or from healthcare into consultancy, but long term they might envisage having their own business, starting something that they're very passionate about, but they know they're not quite there yet. They see it as a kind of mid to long term goal in their career. So motivation is definitely one thing. I think we are seeing more students from what was once considered an atypical background, be that from entrepreneurship, be that from people who are qualified doctors or surgeons or legal specialists. So for people who are perhaps outside that typical profile, I would say don't let that put you off. There's a lot that you can bring and offer. It will be a very unique perspective. You know, if you are, for example, a surgeon, you might be the only one on the program with that kind of background, which is actually something I think the class would really value, to have such different perspectives. So, you know, don't be put off by age or anything like that, but really think about your motivation. And I guess the other thing is as well how it might impact your family if you've got a family. You know, if you're thinking about relocating as well, there's obviously financial considerations as part of that. So I would say both programs are an option if you are outside the typical profile. But Chris, I'm sure you would say that's part of the value of speaking to your team as well, to go through your profile in a bit more detail and get more kind of specific advice on that.
Absolutely, and there'll be an opportunity for everyone here today. If you want any one-to-one consultations with myself, Lewis, or Ekaterina, we'll be able to organise them where we can go through your CV, talk about your motivational factors that Naomi has spoken about as well. So we're definitely here to help even after this webinar. Moving away from perhaps the profile of the students or what it is that we're looking for from our applicants, Nia, what would you say is the highlight of the full-time Manchester MBA?
Thanks, Chris. Good question. So by far, I think the biggest highlight when I speak to students is the consultancy projects. So we offer four actually consultancy projects on the MBA, and it's an opportunity for students to apply learning. So for example, at the beginning of your full-time MBA, we offer the non-for-profit consultancy project. We also have a commercial business project and an international business project. And also we offer a mergers and acquisitions project as well. So this is what is the Manchester Method approach. So it's our practical hands-on approach, transformational approach to teaching, which relates academic theory to business and management skills. And the approach was developed in the 60s by our founding members. So we place just as much emphasis on learn by doing as we do on traditional classroom teaching. So through the consultancy projects and the group works, students really get good hands-on experience. So we obviously teach you the theory, but then you'll have opportunities to apply the theory to case studies and the projects. We'll teach you how to use the theory to get the results you want. You will learn how to take data-informed approaches to decision-making, and we'll give you lots of opportunities to reflect critically and analytically on the decisions and approaches that you've taken. So for you know, by far the consultancy projects are one of the main draws, and obviously the great city of Manchester. I'm sure Naomi will have other things that she wants to add as well.
Well, I think it was nice you gave two highlights there, Nia. The projects at Manchester, I like it. But Naomi, perhaps you could maybe expand maybe on one of Nia's points in terms of those consultancy projects. I mean, what do they look like? What type of clients would our students expect to be working for or involved with in their consultancy?
Yeah, so a common question we get asked. The projects, as I mentioned earlier, they are with real clients across different sectors, but they all have something quite a real issue in front of them, a question that they're asking internally, that they want a group of MBAs to come in and work with them on and deliver some real recommendations. Now, I can't really name drop the clients because there are some NDAs in place, but they are across all different sectors. So for example, right now there are some international business projects going on with, a few different clients from, say, trying to be careful with my words here, one that's perhaps very innovation focused, quite a local organisation doing some great work with SMEs and quite forward thinking organisations, all the way up to one of the largest financial institutions in the world. Clients can have more than one project with us. So sometimes that's interesting to note as well. Even if you are keen to work with a certain type of organisation, they might have perhaps 2 different projects that they could work with us on, depending on what their need is. But really, they're across all different sectors. They can be things such as a go-to-market strategy. It could be about fundraising, innovation or technology implementation, supply chain, all different areas of business, really. So whatever your background might be, there'll be some projects where you probably think, actually, that aligns quite nicely with what I've done before, but also where you think that is completely new to me, but I really want to get involved and I want to learn about that. So I mentioned earlier that exposure to different sectors through the consultancy projects, and that is also exposure to different functional areas or different types of stakeholders to the ones that you might be used to in your professional career so far. But really, those clients expect groups to come up with very robust recommendations based on very reliable research data. Most likely it's kind of the how do they implement a certain strategy, or how do they take an idea forward? But actually, it can be advising against a certain course of action. So you're not there as a yes man. If they say we're thinking about doing this, but actually your project research leads you into thinking that's not a good idea, here are the reasons, that is still a very valuable recommendation for them. So that's really important to know. You have got the right to challenge a client's thinking in some ways, and in fact you should be doing that. You should be uncovering new areas for them. Beyond that, the other side of it is working in a very diverse group. So we mentioned the international element of our program. You're working with people from different geographies, different functional areas, different working styles even. Being able to bring all of that together to discuss, debate, collaborate is also something that alumni would often comment is a highlight of the program. So it's not just the client element of the projects, but also the team working side that is harder to capture in brochures or material. But if you speak to alumni, I think they'll mention that.
Wow, excellent. I think I can safely say these projects will have sounded very, very impressive to the audience. So thank you both there. Actually, just one more, Nia. Given the detail that Naomi went into there, do you think those projects, would they go on someone's CV?
Absolutely, yes. So all the skills and experiences that you will have gained from working on those projects can be included on your CV. And also, the projects are also a great opportunity for you to be seen by those organizations, and perhaps you might want to work for that organization one day. So it's really good exposure for you, to demonstrate what kind of skills you have in delivering projects when you're put in front of those clients.
Thanks. And sticking on CVs there, Naomi, what other ways can a Manchester MBA student enhance? How can they enhance their CV on the Manchester MBA?
Okay. I love these kinds of questions, Chris, as you know, because I did used to be in the career service here, and I still love talking about careers related things. So we mentioned earlier that you can do an internship as part of our program. So aside from the consultancy projects, that's often one of the major things that students will leverage on their CV when they are coming towards the end of their program and job searching. Typically, the internships are 8 to 12 weeks, working with, again, a very real client in whichever sector you might be interested in on a defined project. So the nature of those projects is, again, really varied. It could be anything from a kind of entrepreneurial venture all the way up to a consulting organization or a big pharma organization. really depends on individuals' interests and how their skills align with certain opportunities. But the key difference between the internships and the consultancy projects is that the internships are individual. So you don't have that same safety net, you might say, of having a team that you're working with. It's all on you. So it's a really good chance for you to build your profile within whichever clients you might be working with, to build your network a little bit and really deliver against a very distinct set of expectations. You will also complete a reflective assignment towards the end of the internship, and that's to really help you capture the learning. So again, when you think about an internship, it's not just a tick box. We want you to take the most away from that opportunity that you possibly can. Most of them will take place in the UK, which again is often great for international students who want to consider staying in the UK longer term. And it does diversify your CV a little bit. Now, if you're looking at areas where you think I've little experience, or I'm really not sure how to get started with that, that is where I would always say the career service here are brilliant, and they will work with you from the very beginning of the program to help you with your particular strategy and how to position your CV overall. Aside from that, sometimes students add competitions to their CVs, and if they're involved in any of the sector interest clubs, that can be a nice thing to show your kind of repositioning yourself in the market. So if you've got, say, a healthcare background, but you want to move into finance, being part of the banking and finance club or participating in a finance related competition can help kind of steer you in that direction with future employers.
Thanks. We'll move now to something that I think is important on MBA programs, and I've already seen a couple of participants ask similar questions in the Q&A box. But Nia, what global opportunities are available on the Manchester MBA?
Thanks, Chris. So on the full-time MBA, you will have an opportunity to take some electives during your program. So, an opportunity for you to tailor some of the course units to your own career. We offer around 25 electives at the moment. So this is an opportunity for you to travel and to experience studying overseas at one of our centres and meet with other international candidates. So obviously you might have seen from our website, we've got international centres in Dubai, in Singapore, in Hong Kong and Shanghai. So at the elective stage, depending on which course unit you want to do, you do have an opportunity to travel to these centres and sit in class with people based in that area of the world and receive your teaching. So great global opportunity there. Obviously, the international consultancy project, which I mentioned, that is another global opportunity, and also the study tours that we offer. So, for example, one of our colleagues has recently just been to Dubai and Abu Dhabi with the full-time class. So that's a great opportunity. And I guess, aside from those sort of concrete examples of electives, study tours, international business project, it's to remember that at the University of Manchester, there's 10,000 international students at the University of Manchester, almost a quarter of the student population. The faculty, the staff at the university are very international as well. 27 different nationalities on your programme, global MBA, an opportunity to study with them. So there's a huge network of people, and you will have Manchester and the MBA in common. So lots of opportunity for you to increase your international network. And it's not a problem if you want to reach out to people on LinkedIn, hey, I saw you went to Manchester, or hey, I saw you did the MBA at Manchester. Can you tell me about company X in this country? So it's a really, it's let's not underestimate the size of the international network that you would have if you chose to do an MBA at Manchester.
Excellent. And I'm about to ask Naomi a question on ROI there, Nia, but I think you've already given one answer there in terms of that network and how you can utilize it. But yeah, over to you on this one, Naomi. So ROI is key for many, even majority of students on full-time MBAs, and as you mentioned, you previously worked in the careers team, now you're leading the MBA from a program level. So how do you think Manchester MBAs achieve an ROI, and what support can we offer?
Yeah, you're right. It is hugely important. An MBA is a massive investment, time, money, everything else as well. So naturally, that is at the forefront of a lot of people's minds. So I'm going to give that slightly difficult answer of saying it does depend a little bit on the individual's goals. So what I mean by that is if you look at, say, salary, which is often what people will refer to with ROI, if you were to do an MBA and you go on to work for, a fairly established company or, possibly a very big corporate, you will see a significant salary uplift, particularly if you stay in the UK market. Our salary levels are very competitive here. So we know that increase is not just seen immediately after the MBA in most cases, but it does remain on that different or that higher trajectory for a number of years following. So it does accelerate your salary progression. But we also know that not all candidates are looking at kind of the large corporates. So if you're sat there thinking, well, I'm more interested in something entrepreneurial or a kind of smaller to mid-size organization, you might well interpret the ROI differently. So for you, it might be about, say, the network that Nia mentioned. Another example is in the last few years, interestingly, we have seen more students explore careers in organizations such as the UN or a not-for-profit. And that's obviously a very different picture in terms of the salaries offered in those organizations or how those individuals consider themselves to be successful or to have made it in their own way. So it does depend a little bit on that. But yes, typically students will see a real impact on their salary. What I would say is, regardless of the type of career you are looking for, if you do join an MBA, not just ours at Manchester, but any program, really take advantage of the career support available. So our career service, they're called the Postgraduate Career Service, or PCS for short. They do work with you from the very beginning. We recently had our induction here for class 2024, and the career service had several sessions with them. They're working on their CVs, they're advertising opportunities, they're helping people develop their networking. So that really starts very early, and the earlier you can start that, the better for you. So whether you're coming with quite a defined goal in terms of sector or salary or whatever you might want to achieve, that's completely fine. If you're much more open-minded or you have got a different way of looking at ROI, that's also fine. They can help you explore other avenues that are right for you. And they will work quite closely with the alumni relations team here. So when Nia mentioned that networking opportunity, we really do support students with that from, again, the very beginning of their program. There will be events, there'll be clients that interact with the full-time MBA classes, and it's all about supporting students' relationships and the visibility in the market. The one final thing I would add for people who are looking for something entrepreneurial is that the Masood Enterprise Centre is also part of the university. So if you are looking at kind of entrepreneurship as part of your future, do engage with the Masood Enterprise Centre. They can help you network, they can help you with a lot of different resources, they can advise you on either starting that journey or possibly growing a business if that's something that you've done before.
Thank you. And moving on from some of the job opportunities, career prospects that Naomi spoke about there, Nia, and this is going to be more relevant to the internationals, to our international audience who are joining us today. But can international students live and work in the UK post-graduation?
Yes, they can. So we now have what's called the post-study work visa. So this is an opportunity for you to stay on automatically, actually, in the UK after your studies. So it's something which is a real benefit to the UK now. I don't think we've had it for the last 10 years. So Previously, you had to find a company and they had to sponsor you, and it was quite a difficult process. But now there is obviously an opportunity to apply for the post-study work visa, and you can stay in the UK for up to 2 years after graduation.
And on that note, Naomi, so, you know, many international students, and actually, you know, also our domestic UK students as well, will take the opportunity to live and work in the UK. But then again, others will want to return to their home countries. Others may want to take advantage of other global opportunities outside of the UK, outside of their home nation. Can you let the audience know what factors they should be considering when focusing on post-graduation location?
Yeah, so good question. Again, a few things come to mind. So initially, I would say Nia is kind of absolutely right in terms of the UK market. There's two main options for the graduate route visa or the company sponsorship. The visa options will differ in different markets around the world. So that's certainly one thing to educate yourself on if you are considering different locations. You know, for example, we sometimes have students who are considering Singapore or Australia or Canada, but when they get into looking at the kind of entry requirements and how visas are managed, that can really affect their thinking and their planning. So there's a lot of information out there. So do look at the particular markets that you're interested in. But the UK certainly has much more opportunity these days for international candidates. The other few things I would mention, again, linking back to your career aspirations, look at the stability of industries in whichever markets you might be thinking of, and look where the growth areas are. Does that align with the kind of career that you are looking for over the next 2, 5, 10 years, however long you might want to live in a certain market? So, for example, in recent years, the German market has become more attractive because the tech sector is booming over there, you know, similar with the UK. So that might also play a part in people's thinking, where are those opportunities likely to lie? The other thing, the MBA itself is usually recognized very well internationally. But if in your background you have a specialism or you have additional qualifications, again, it's worth thinking about where those are recognized. So I mentioned earlier, we get some students from, say, a legal background. If you're looking at an area or a career in that area going forward, it might be very important for you that that particular qualification you've got is recognized in the UK or Germany or Canada or whichever market you might be looking at. And then finally, I would talk about language. You know, I mentioned Germany earlier. We've had a few alumni go there who haven't really spoken the language, and that's not been a problem for them. But other markets, other companies might have slightly different views on that. It might be useful to have the local language, and of course the lifestyle, particularly if you have got a family or a partner to consider. You know, that can look very different for people in different markets around the world as well.
Excellent, thank you. So there's going to be one final question which I'm going to ask the both of you momentarily. But to the audience here, so we've been trying to answer some of your questions. Catherine and Lewis have been typing answers to some of your questions. I've tried to ask Nia and Naomi some of those questions as well. So any final questions you have for Nia and Naomi, please type them into the box, and we will try to get them answered over the next few minutes. But when Nia and Naomi leave us in the next 10 to 15 minutes, myself, Lewis, and Ekaterina will stay online to answer any specific individual questions that you may have. So back to the final question then. So and we'll start with you, Nia, and then we'll go over to Naomi to end it. What do our graduates tell you some of the benefits from having studied the Manchester MBA?
Thanks, Chris. So yeah, we obviously survey our students after during the MBA to see how their experience is going, but also after they graduate as well. So some of the things that they tell us are the way in terms of their work. So they say that definitely their decision making is better. They're making decisions which consider wide implications outside of their organisation as well. So I think the opportunities that we provide you on the MBA give you lots of opportunities to practice your decision making. So definitely decision making is a lot better when you graduate from the MBA. Creativity as well. So coming up with ideas and solutions which change the way the organisation works for the better. Obviously, it's a really, really busy program. You're working with lots of different people. You've got lots of different deadlines. So you become very good at time management. So being more efficient, being more effective, helping teams and even helping organizations operate more effectively and efficiently. And obviously working in diverse environments, as we mentioned throughout this webinar today, it's a really diverse network. So you're going to be very good at working with lots of different people from lots of different backgrounds. When we do interview full-time students and global MBA students, to be honest, on the executive MBA, when we ask them, you know, some of the reasons for applying to Manchester, they do tell us that they've seen people in the workplace, they've seen how they operate, they've seen their confidence, the way they communicate, the way they make decisions, and they think, wow, really want to be that person. I really want to be who she is. What does she have? And when they end up speaking to her, they find out about the Manchester MBA and then they end up applying to us. So there definitely is a transformation in individuals after they've done their MBA. But I'd say the biggest thing people get from the MBA is confidence. Honestly, in any situation in life, when you're really challenged, when you're really pushed through to the limits and you overcome that, your confidence increases massively. So the MBA is very challenging, but you know, with the right tools and support, you can achieve an MBA. And with that comes lots of self-confidence. And you've got to get so much chance to practice decision-making, working in groups and so forth. So you do get lots of confidence. Obviously, you become very comfortable working in highly competitive environments. So you can imagine you've got 100 people very similar to you, really ambitious, wanting to go places, really wanting to work hard and get great grades, can't speak, and deliver great projects. So, you know, you become very comfortable in working in this kind of environment, resolving problems, dealing with people professionally, and obviously having the confidence to accelerate your career faster. This is what some people tell us and what we see really in people throughout the MBA and once they graduate.
Thank you, Nia. That was very in depth. I was thinking there was going to be a one sentence. So Naomi, there's two ways to look at this. You can just agree with what Nia said, or would you like to add anything to it?
Please agree.
I completely agree with everything you said, especially the confidence point. I really do think that makes a huge impact on people, often without them realizing until they kind of reach the end of their program or even a few years after, and they look back and think, actually, that was a real turning point in, you know, whichever way, whether it's public speaking, whether it's client management, whether it's, you know, being more assertive. You know, people really do change during the program. So a lot of alumni would comment on that. A couple of other super quick things I would mention or reiterate. Teamwork comes up an awful lot. You know, the relationships you build with the class, even candidates who have worked internationally before probably haven't done so with 25 to 30 different nationalities all at the same time. And that is what you will experience on the program. So a lot of alumni will comment on that. They'll reflect back on how they got to know certain individuals, and they'll stay in touch for a long, long time. So aside from, you know, the sharpening of their leadership, communication skills, emotional intelligence, you do see pictures of them popping up at each other's weddings when they have children. Those relationships last a long time, and it's really lovely to see that. So I think that kind of bonding, that community we have here is a real benefit. And then finally, just on a lighter note, Nia mentioned it earlier, but the city, you know, even if people end up just down the road in London, they often say they miss Manchester. They like the feel of the city. They miss going to the football matches, whichever side you might be on there. You know, they miss the kind of lifestyle they had when they're here. So that's always a really nice thing to hear. I think we're quite proud to be based in Manchester, so I love when they mention that.
Thank you very much. So I've been taking in the read of some of the questions, and I've got a couple here. They're going to be directed at you, Naomi. So you mentioned, I think when we were speaking about, it might have been about CVs, you were mentioning, you touched on clubs. So could you go into a little bit more detail to the audience there in terms of what types of clubs do we offer, and what would be the benefits of a student immersing themselves into those student clubs? Okay,
sure. So there are a few different clubs, all managed by the Career Service. If I was to list them, we have Banking and Finance Club, Consulting Club, Energy and Industry Club, Retail, Healthcare and Pharmaceutical, and lastly there's the Technology, Media, Telecoms Club. Alongside those, we also have the Women in Business Forum, and PCS do quite a lot to support the entrepreneurial activity as well. So typically through the year, a club would have various different speakers. They would engage with alumni. They might have some more knowledge-based sessions, particularly say the Consulting Club. They'll do a lot of case study practice. They might do some kind of Excel training as well, that kind of thing. So it's really to brush up your knowledge, your skills in a certain area, and give you a little bit more exposure to people who work in that field. All the clubs are student-led, so they all have a president and a vice president, possibly a couple of vice presidents who are elected to lead. And it's a great chance for those individuals to utilise their network in terms of inviting speakers or looking at the market and thinking about, okay, for myself and my peers, what would really sharpen our knowledge in this area? How can we connect with alumni working in, say, the pharmaceutical area or whichever club it might be? For the Women in Business Forum, that's a little bit different, but as it sounds, they talk about and they invite speakers on various topics relating to women in business and female leaders. But it isn't just open to the women in the class. We very much encourage anyone in the class to come along and learn. There's some brilliant events and activity going on around that, and it is something that a lot of companies are pushing more and more. So the broader awareness you have, whether you're male, female, non-binary, it's really useful for your future career.
Thank you. And thank you, Gokul, for that question as well. Really good one. And then a few people have been asking, it's focused on what Nia mentioned and what you also mentioned, Naomi, in terms of working in the UK after graduating from the Manchester MBA, and they're asking in terms of what the job market looks like in the UK at the moment. And I was recently asked this question myself, and I found out a stat recently, which I think I'm getting it correct, but you can definitely correct me if I'm wrong here, Naomi. That in terms of the current class, about 96% went on internships, I believe Chris told me. So I don't know if that's a reflection of what the job market is looking like, because that seemed to me one of the highest figures that I've heard in my time on the Manchester MBA.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I think that figure is absolutely right. The Career Service consistently hit 85 to 90% of students who would like an internship. I say that just because there are some who might be company sponsored who don't have an interest in internships. But yes, the majority who want one will secure something. In terms of the broader job market, it's pretty strong in the UK right now. We have recovered, I would say, to pre-pandemic levels in most sectors. There's obviously still some lingering effects in, say, hospitality, but that's not a significant MBA market anyway. If you look at the key markets, it's usually banking and finance, consultancy, technology, healthcare or pharma, and those are all fairly strong at the minute. The Career Service have maintained a lot of the good relationships they had in those areas, and they're still bringing on kind of new clients that engage with us year on year, whether that's internships or full-time hiring. So I would say the market is pretty strong. Obviously, as I said, there are some variances. So if, for example, you're looking at automotive market, that might look a little bit different. But I wouldn't say there's kind of cause for concern at this stage. Anyone in any market needs to be proactive. You can't just sit and wait for opportunities to come to you. You need to research, network, you need to take time with your applications, on your interview preparation, but all of that the career service would support you with here. So that's kind of a high level answer with the time we've got left, Chris. I hope that's enough.
Absolutely. And got another question, and I'll pass this one to you, Nia. You touched on the global opportunities earlier, and someone was asking, what are the benefits for them as a full-time MBA student in taking an elective with our global MBA or global executive MBA students? Why would they choose that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, some people just want to travel as much as possible during their full-time MBA, to be honest. They have that bug and they want to try different places. So that is an opportunity for you to go to those places. I've talked about the network. So being able to go overseas, meet with people from lots of different countries and gain a perspective of what's going on in their markets and their countries. So it's about just broadening your horizons, really, giving you an opportunity to broaden your horizons, hear from people maybe in your industry, but working in a different market, increasing your network. Those are the main benefits of taking an elective overseas. And some people just want to travel, and that's fine as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much, the two of you, for your time today. I think you've given real insight, real detailed insight, actually, to some of the things that people should be considering when researching different MBA programs, from what the profile of the class looks like to what is the value really of a full-time MBA, because it's such a big commitment. We've spoken about our consultancy projects, the thing that really makes us unique on the Manchester MBA. We've spoken a bit in terms of how people can enhance their CV. Of course, imperative that you enhance your CV when you're undertaking an MBA and investing so much money. And of course, on that investment, Naomi really focused on that ROI and how students can achieve that, and the different ways and what it means to them as individuals. So really appreciate the time that both of you have given us today. So thank you very much for that. And to the audience, by all means, stay online momentarily if you want. I know we're approaching an hour now, so if any of you need to leave, by all means do so. But as I said, myself and Lewis will hang around for another 5-10 minutes to answer any admissions related questions, or any questions that we didn't get around to over the past hour. So with that note, thank you very much, Nia, and thank you very much, Naomi.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Stay in touch with Chris and Lewis, and good luck with your decision.
And I guess also I should have said there, for those of you who are online, who are in the process of applying or considering applying, there's a good chance that you will see Nia and Naomi and myself again at interview stage, and we look forward to seeing you there as well.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers. Okay.
I'm just gonna, Chris, just before we start answering any questions, I'm just gonna say to everyone who's still remaining here, I will be reaching out to everyone that's attended today. You'll get sent a recording as well, and we do. Chris has mentioned a few times, we do encourage you to get in touch with us, whether it's myself, Chris, Katrina, or anyone else in our team. We can review your profiles. We can give you advice, just in case you do have to leave today. So yeah, just wanted to put that across as well.
Excellent, thanks. So I'd see there's a couple of questions that we didn't get to there. So I'm going to pick Simone's question, where she's asking about the popular industries that our students go into post-MBA. So historically, financial services, banking, and consultancy used to be the top two, and that was the case for many years. Then over the past 5 years, there has been a change. Tech has come into the fold. So now they are the three biggest industry sectors post-MBA. So it's tech, financial services, stroke banking, and consultancy. For us on the Manchester MBA, we pride ourselves on being teaching a general management qualification and on not being a specialist business school. So we are purposely not trying to recruit and put students into just, say, consultancy organization or just financial services types organizations. That's why we like our number one post-industry sector to often be at only about 20% of the class that would go into that. And it's also quite interesting how over the last 3 years, those three different sectors that I've mentioned, tech, financial services, and consultancy, have all been number one post-graduation industry, which shows that we are working with a variety of clients at different times. To go into just a slightly bit more detail there, our number one recruiter for this year is Amazon. So we do a lot of work both on internships and on full-time roles with Amazon. But of course, we do also work with a variety of other different tech organizations, from your Googles to your Microsofts, but also to, Naomi mentioned how the tech sector is booming in Manchester at the moment as well. So there will be other opportunities, maybe with companies that you may not necessarily be as familiar with. So we do think we've got a good balance of those multinational organizations mixed in with some really fast growing organizations in Manchester and other parts of the UK.
Perfect. I can see a few questions about when the best time to apply is. There's been a couple of those. Do you want me to answer that, Chris, or do you want to take that? Or yeah. So on the Manchester MBA, with our recruitment cycle, it is a rolling admissions process. So you do have plenty of time. If you're looking at our September 2023 intake, international students have until roughly around the end of May. But what we do say is, obviously with our class size of 100 to 110 students, as soon as you feel you're ready to apply, we do encourage you to obviously to submit your application. We see a lot of applications coming in from December to kind of February time, when you'll still be in a very, very good place if you're prepared to apply during those rounds. But yeah, as soon as you feel you're ready, we encourage that application.
Thanks, Lewis. And I see a question here from Fadil. I'm not sure if you're still online, Fadil, but he's asking about entrepreneurship and how they can benefit or expand on their entrepreneurial experience whilst on the MBA. I think I will reiterate one of Naomi's answers there in terms of our Masood Enterprise Centre. This is not part of our MBA program. It's not part of your MBA curriculum, but it is a great addition to Alliance Manchester Business School, and you can be as involved as you want to be. Of course, not everyone in the class have any entrepreneurial ambitions, but for those of you who do, then I would absolutely suggest that you consider working alongside or getting involved the team at the Masood Enterprise Centre. I think we've answered everything.
Yeah.
Lewis, have you seen anything that we haven't answered?
I can't see any
No, I think we've got everything done there. So what I will do, just to reiterate, I think Lewis has mentioned it and myself, but you know, we do really value spending time working with our applicants across all our MBA programs on the Manchester MBA. So whether it's Lewis, myself, or Ekaterina, we're all on hand to help you. By all means, send through your CVs, etc. We'll take a look and feedback to you. And we look forward to seeing many of you apply over the next few months for the full-time MBA, and potentially there might be some of you here looking at our professional MBA programs as well. So thank you all very much for attending, and final words for you, Lewis.
Yeah, so I'll as we've both mentioned multiple times, I'll be reaching out to everyone, so you will receive an email from me in the next couple of days. Feel free to share your CVs and profiles, and we can set up one-to-one consultations at any point, and we are very, very happy to do that. So yeah, thank you very much for attending today. Thank you very much from the MBA team, and we'll be in touch soon.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thanks everyone. Bye bye.